Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 9:46 a.m. on Monday don't know what date it is today. I'm pretty sure it's the 30th of March. Shall we check? Yes, 30th of March 2026. I'm feeling a bit woeful still. I'm really struggling, but it is a situation at hand. There's nothing I can do about it, so we'll soldier on as per normal. I had enough strength this morning to put my pillows and doona out in the sunshine. There was no wind, and now I sit down to read to you, people of Earth. The wind's come up. Oh, but I guess it's not too bad. The birdies are outside. If it gets too blustery, we'll have to go back into the studio and birdie bedroom. So, but it's a beautiful sunshiny day, lovely clear blue skies. Well, not completely clear, there's lots of cloud, but the lorikeets are here. I might just quickly give them some food. Oh no, it can wait. The crows took their food yesterday, they weren't all that fussed. It can wait, people of Earth. Anyway, so had a bit of a rough night as per normal, but, well, the new normal since my teeth went to hell in a handbasket. And my last painkiller was when I woke up at 5:45. Put myself back to sleep and got up at 7:45. So I haven't had any more painkillers, Panadol, but it's starting to grind away again, so may have to resort to that again. 6 days of Panadol, it's not good, but what can you do? Invalidated and treated like a drug addict when you ask for stronger pain relief, so it really is evil. I'm thinking about writing to the Health Rights Commission, but they don't care either. Sold me down the river many years ago when I reported other malfeasances we won't go into now because it will just flare me up. What kind of bird is that up there? I think it's a butcher bird. No, it's a, what are they called? They're not magpies and they're not crows, but they're like a cross between the two of them. Currawong, I think they're called. I think it's one of those. I haven't seen them in my garden before. Anyway, the crows just flew down. He's very happy because he sees I've got food for him. He's hoping for the lorikeet mix because that's where I keep it, on top of a potting cupboard. And he knows the lorikeets are here. They get lorikeet mix. But not for you. You've got boring old seeds. Oh, it's hardship today. Hardship. Takes all the lorikeets' sweet food away from them, and, well, what can I say? They're happy up in the tulip tree getting drunk on the African tulip flowers. So, today's story, I don't know how long it goes for. Let's have a look. If it's long or short. It's a very short one, which is good given how I feel. And the next one is a bit longer, but not too long. So we might get 2 stories today, people of Earth, depending on how my jaw holds up. Right, today's story is titled Yours by Mary Robison, Robison, Robison. Alison struggled away from her white Renault, limping with the weight of the last of the pumpkins. She found Clark in the twilight on the twig and leaf-littered porch behind the house. He wore a tan wool shawl. He was moving up and back in a cushioned glider, pushed by the ball of his slippered foot. Alison lowered a big pumpkin and let it rest on the porch floor. Dear Goddess. Clark was much older than she, 78 to Alison's 35. I shouldn't be judgmental, should I? It's just a story, people of Earth. But that is quite a large age gap. They had been married for 4 months. They were both quite tall, with long hands, and their faces looked something alike. Alison wore a natural hair wig. It was a thick blonde hood around her face. She was dressed in bright dyed denims today. She wore durable clothes usually, for she volunteered afternoons at a children's daycare centre. She put one of the smaller pumpkins on Clark's long lap. Now, nothing surreal, she told him. Carve just a regular face. These are for kids. Which tells me that Clark is an artist. In the foyer, on the Hepplewhite desk, Alison found the maid's chore list with its cross-offs, which included Clark's supper. Alison went quickly through the day's mail, a garish coupon packet, a flyer advertising white wines at Jamestown's Liquors, November's pay TV program guide, and the worst thing, the funniest, an already opened, extremely unkind letter from Clark's married daughter up north. "You're an old fool," Alison read, "and you're being cruelly deceived." There was a gift cheque for $25 made out to Clark enclosed. His birthday had just passed, but it was uncashable. It was signed Jesus H. Christ. Late into this night, Alison and Clark gutted and carved the pumpkins together at an old table set out on the back porch. They worked over newspaper after soggy newspaper, using paring knives and spoons, and a Swiss Army knife Clark liked for the exact shaping of teeth and eyes and nostrils. Clark had been a doctor, an internist, but he was also a Sunday watercolour painter. His 4 pumpkins were expressive and artful. Their carved features were suited to the sizes and shapes of the pumpkins. 2 looked ferocious and jagged. 1 registered surprise. The last was serene and beaming. How I would look if I'd actually been given pain relief, but we won't go on and on about it. I'm not a child. I'm just fair pissed off, that's all. Anyway, I think I've got bigger problems going on. The fact that there's still swelling and metallic taste and pain radiating up to my eye and ears seeping, and I just don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't think I can endure it. So I'm reading stories in manic denial, choosing potential death instead. I'm not going to die. I haven't died from my teeth before. Why would I die now? But, you know. It really was most unpleasant. Most unpleasant people of Earth. Oh, anyway, I really do think I need another 2 Panadols, but I don't know what the time is now. It must be nearly 6 hours. I'm stretching it out 6 hourly, which is an improvement, people of Earth. So hopefully I get better as each day passes. What was it? The last was serene and beaming. Anyway, Alison's 4 faces were less deftly drawn, with slits and areas of distortion. She had cut triangles for noses and eyes. The mouths she had made were all just wedges, 2 turned up and 2 turned down. But you know what, that's okay too. It's not about perfection, it's about being your own little artist and having your own creativity, isn't it? Like my YouTube stories and everything else I probably fail at. But I didn't fail at this, and I didn't fail at this. Well, I kind of did a bit, but shh. It's a lovely piece. It's one of my early pieces too. It was a big challenge. I didn't even have the Smith Little torch and was trying to solder on the prongs with the torch. It wasn't hot enough, so there were lots of fails and lots of screaming and crying. But eventually I got it. You know how I got it? I got a matte torch and I just blasted the shit out of it, and it worked. Oh, lucky I didn't melt it actually. And I polished up that beautiful boulder opal that looks like a fairy, kind of, sort of. Someone walking with a smaller person beside them. That's how I imagine it looks like anyway. And on the back it's just delightful. When I grow up and have money, neither of those 2 things are likely to happen, even though I'll be 61 in April. I want to buy a slab cutting machine so I can cut the opal into smaller chunks and cut smaller pieces, so that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Probably never happen because they're about $4,000. But you know, the psychedelic dreamer can dream. She's got goals and ambitions, even at this late stage of life. It's quite miraculous. Really is quite miraculous, even though I look grey and pasty and ill. But when I get better, my teeth issues are resolved by the will of God, Be'ezrat Hashem. I've got things I still want to achieve. So there is that. It's the only thing I'm staying alive for, quite frankly, since everyone else is gone. But, oh, smallest violin. By 1 a.m. they were finished. Clark, who had bent his long torso forward to work, moved over to the glider again and looked out sleepily at nothing. I wonder what they mean by glider. To me, a glider is one of those small aircraft that you jump off mountains and glide. What are they called? No, a glider has a motor, doesn't it? I'm thinking of something else. Well, anyway, no idea what they're talking about there. All the neighbours' lights were out across the ravine. For the season and time, the Virginia night was warm. Most of the leaves had fallen and blown away already, and the trees stood unbothered. The moon was round above them. Alison cleaned up the mess. Your jack-o'-lanterns are much, much better than mine, Clark said to her. Like hell, Alison said. Look at me, Clark said, and Alison did. She was holding a squishy bundle of newspapers. The newspapers reeked sweetly with the smell of pumpkin innards. Yours are far better, he said. You're wrong. You'll see when they're lit, Alison said. She went inside, came back with yellow vigil candles. Took her a while to get each candle settled into a pool of its own melted wax inside the jack-o'-lanterns, which were lined up in a row on the porch railing. Alison went along and relit each candle and fixed the pumpkin lids over the little flames. See, she said. They sat together a moment and looked at the orange faces. We're exhausted. It's good night time, Alison said. Don't blow out the candles. I'll put in new ones tomorrow. In her bedroom, a few weeks earlier in her life than had been predicted, she began to die. Don't look at me if my wig comes off, she told Clark. Please. Her pulse cords were fluttering under his fingers. She raised her knees and kicked away the comforter. She said something to Clark about the garage being locked. At the telephone, Clark had a clear view out back and down to the porch. He wanted to get drunk with his wife once more. He wanted to tell her, from the greater perspective he had, that to own only a little talent like his was an awful, plaguing thing. That being only a little special meant you expected too much most of the time and liked yourself too little. He wanted to assure her that she had missed nothing. Clark was speaking into the phone now. He watched the jack-o'-lanterns. The jack-o'-lanterns watched him. He's right, you know. It's true. Doesn't matter how old you are, how special you are, how talented you are. Life is just about being present and putting in whatever effort you can muster. And from that story, she put in quite a lot of effort on her last day on earth. Sweet. The Bad Thing, David Gates. He has never hit me, and only once or twice in our 2 years has he raised his voice in anger. Even in bed, Stephen is gentle, to a fault. Why then am I wary of him? Obvious? Well, So, if you're wary of him, what are you doing here? Also obvious. For one thing, I have his baby inside me. Ye gods, his baby? I think of it that way because he and Marilyn never had children, and what other chance is he going to get? But it's not his baby, of course, nor mine. The baby is its own baby. I'll be back one moment. I'm just going to take 2 Panadols because the pain's starting to grind away. Sorry about that. If I don't take it now, it's going to be really intense if I leave it too long. Right, where were we? The baby is its own baby. I think of it as a girl because the idea of a tiny man inside me is what? Repulsive, I was going to say. Though sometimes I think a little man, yes, squeezed out into the world to do my will, but at other times I pray, dear God, if you've made it a boy, go back in your time-scrunching omnipotence and redo the instant of its conception. Not forgetting to add, if it be thy will. You know, the kind of thing God does all the time, going back and changing what his will is. 16 near deaths only to put me through this torture. I mean, you kind of have to laugh. So I'm trying to take it as it comes. Even that seems wildly ambitious. 2 days ago, after Stephen had finished working and I'd come to a stopping place, that really hurt, you know. It seared all up to my head. Shouldn't laugh. We climbed the hill up behind Carl's house until we reached the power line. Stephen put on his skis. I put on the snowshoes he bought me. I'm not to ski anymore until after. Another thing I'm not to do is address Carl Porter as Carl. Stephen sees it as a class thing. Slipping along by my side, he praised my walking in the snowshoes. Big deal, I said. You put one foot in front of the other. Ah, but that, he said, raising his index finger, is oft times the hardest lesson of all. Big joke with Stephen is to intone fake profundities, raising his index finger to make sure you see he's kidding. I thought, right, I'm learning that, being married to you. Oh, I know, bad. You should be reaching out to him. Been tried, honey. Like our first night in this house. We'd both learned not from each other. We've both been around the block, but the big moments you plan never work, so we decided against the French restaurant 2 towns over for the $40 prix fixe dinner and went to the diner on 28. We took a booth, ordered pancakes and sausage, and sat waiting for the modest magic by which the everyday becomes precious. Stephen flipped page after page of jukebox selections, fingering the little metal tabs on the bottom. The country songs in green. Then he flipped back through in the other direction. Nothing, he said. Zip. Unless you want to hear fucking Randy Travis. By this I understood that I was not to want to hear Randy Travis. I put a hand on his. Something's worrying you, I said. Don't, he said, pulling his hand out from under. I saw tears come up and fill his eyes. What, I said. Talk to me. He shook his head. You've heard the same shit 48 times, he said. Maybe the pills will help. "48 was one of his numbers I hadn't heard before. Usually they were round and overwhelming, like 50,000. I've done 50,000 of these fucking children's books. Or 10 million. 10 million fucking fax machines at fucking J&R, and I get the one that craps out. Afterward I thought about it. 48 was how old he'd be in June, when his first child would be born. Oh, but Stephen was such a complex man. Could it possibly be that simple? One thing that might help to get my contempt under control, since he doesn't seem to be doing much about his. A baba ganoush would be good right now. To go and buy some eggplant, won't I? Now that would be a good mood drug I could get behind. Now that would be a mood drug I could get behind. Not my thoughts to have baba ganoush, by the way, people. That was a segue. Oops, sorry. Right. Currajong or Currawong. It's a beautiful bird. Very beautiful. I'd show it to you, but I can't zoom in when I'm facing the phone away from me, which is a shame. I mean, when I'm... Oh, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean. I moved up here for the beauty and the quiet, so we'd each have a workroom. It's all so post-industrial. No need anymore to be bodily on Lexington Avenue from 10 to 6. Up here, I'd be able to take my job lightly and my work seriously as Stephen takes his. But, needless to say, dear Goddess, yesterday we had to go to Oneonta for groceries. It had started snowing in the morning when we got back. it was still coming down, and we couldn't get up the driveway. Sorry, the inside of my cheek's getting a weird taste. Tastes like hummus. It's ridiculous. I'm sure I'm imagining that part, but it's starting to swell up again. Ah well, we'll be all right, people of Earth. I'm a tough old broad. Always have been, always will be. Just whine a lot when I get sick, because who wants to be sick all the time? No one. It really is torture. 61 years of it. But look at the gorgeous, beautiful day we're experiencing. And if you can see him, I'm not sure, but up there is that Currawong watching over us. And haven't seen the bearded dragon for a while. Don't know where he's gone off to. But he, or rather she, laid eggs, and there's a baby one that scurries around underneath the house. So if I go under there, the baby's probably there, maybe. But it's so scared of me, but it's so lovely. Perfect image of its mother. Right. He insisted on trying to shovel after making 3 trips all the way up to the house with the stuff, which he wouldn't let me help with. I told him, forget it, come inside. We drink tea and get snowed in. Thinking, actually, of some Remy in the tea. What he's taking is one of the new anything goes antidepressants, and stretching out by the pellet stove, our feet together under the shiny maroon comforter, and so on. We'll get Carl to plough us out in the morning, I said. He said I treated the locals like old family retainers, which was so uncalled for, when for once I was trying to take some care of him. He was already pale and sweating, and his chest was heaving. I went into the bathroom and cried, then washed my face. When he came in, looking even worse, he found me sipping tea with Remy and reading Mirabella, or rather, staring at the pages and feeling put upon, because now that I'd cut myself out of the loop, I would never design anything but monthly newsletters and annual reports. Bitch, I'm sure he thought, and clomped upstairs. When it got dark, I opened a can of soup. Then I stopped bothering with the tea and drank myself pretty nearly to sleep. Not really good to be doing that when you're expecting a baby, my lovely. My God, what a foolish thing to do. Ah well. Just managed to get up the stairs, then woke up. Of course, at 2 a.m, mouth dry, head killing me. I went to the bathroom to pee and get a drink of water and some aspirin, and heard the music still going in Stephen's workroom, his damn Louis Armstrong, and saw a line of golden light along the bottom of his door. Inside was the kingdom of art from which I'd been exiled. I crept back to bed like a dirty animal. Sneaking around a dark house at night, just like old times. When I was 22, my boyfriend and I shared a big old farmhouse in Rhode Island with his best friend and the best friend's girlfriend. And once a week or so, I would leave Dalton in bed and take my way down the creaky stairs to find Todd waiting on the sofa. He would be drunk, having got Kathleen drunk enough to put her to sleep, and not gentle with me. I would have put Dalton to sleep by fucking him as sweetly as I knew how. More sweetly than I know how anymore, but saving my orgasm for Todd. Knowing it was of no value to him, except as proof that he could make me do it when Dalton couldn't. Though of course Dalton could, and I didn't always save it. It started in the summer, one morning when Todd and I were alone in the house. He asked if I wanted coffee, then ran his index finger down my bare arm, me in that blue sundress with the yellow flowers, him in blue jeans and a t-shirt I couldn't imagine how he kept so white, and said, "Wouldn't it be funny if we put the horns on Dalton?" The horns? What more did I need to know? And yet, I heard two voices in my head talking at me as I stood there in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room. My own voice saying, "This is bad for you," and a man's voice saying, "Do what I say." I narrowed my eyes, trying to hear which was right, and I could picture myself as Todd saw me, looking intense and tempted. "This is a beautiful boy," said another voice, a voice that wished me ill. "Who knows how to touch you?" Did I simply have bad character, or was I a strong young woman going after what she wanted and willing to pay the price? Though how strong were you really if you couldn't finally get it? One thing I promised myself, I would never again let myself in for this kind of humiliation. When Todd finally dumped me, I did the one bit of bitchy damage I could. I said I'd always known the real romance was between him and Dalton. I hope he still hears me saying that in his head. Probably wouldn't bother him in the slightest, darling girl. What did my ex Courtney used to say? Any hole's a goal. I can hear peals of laughter, but it's actually not funny. Just saying. Anyway, another verminous monster I had to chew my arm off and heal from, and dear goddess, it's unbelievable when I think back on it. So unbelievable, and yet true. Wow. It was a mistake to have shown Todd's picture to Stephen. At the time, I thought I was doing it to leave nothing unshared, but actually, it must have been to put him on notice. I have to find the strength to make my bed and crawl back into it later. I might come good. Sometimes I perk up a bit. Have phases for an hour or two where I feel reasonably okay, and then I slump again. It's a journey. Let me just repeat that sentence again. It was a mistake to have shown Todd's picture to Stephen. At the time, I thought I was doing it to leave nothing unshared, but actually it must have been to put him on notice that once I had been desired by a beautiful blonde boy. Todd's beauty was a means of convincing Stephen that I was beautiful. How fucked up is that? I'm sure Stephen thought it was more evidence of my bad taste to have been attracted to the merely beautiful, as if it had never happened to him. Now there's another thing we were never going to do, pardon me. Marry a man who wasn't on speaking terms with his own desires, pardon me. I woke up again at 7, came down and fixed myself a tray with coffee and a bowl of Count Chocula. Stephen loves the Grand Union and Oneonta. When we lived in the city, he refused to shop in supermarkets. And every week he selects another brand of sugared out kiddie cereal. I was raised on fucking puffed rice, he said the first time he placed a box of Cap'n Crunch in the cart. This is a quiet man's rebellion. I don't generally eat this stuff, but I had to get something in my stomach immediately. I brought the tray up to my workroom and turned on the computer. Out the window, I saw a white cloud issuing from the tailpipe of Carl Porter's empty truck, so I picked up the phone. You didn't need to ask, Mrs. Sturdivant, he said. I meant to do you first thing. Lovely man. Listening to his truck humming and rumbling as he ploughed the driveway, I ate the cereal and looked over the pages I'd laid out yesterday, telling myself that one bowl of Count Chocula wasn't so irresponsible. They probably spray the stuff with vitamins. Only then did it hit me what I'd done last night. Got stinking drunk while 4 months pregnant. 4 months. What did that mean in terms of how major a birth defect might be? Wouldn't it be more major the earlier you did the bad thing? Don't think it matters all that much. Fetal alcohol syndrome is a thing, people are there. Oh well, who am I to judge? My mother took one thalidomide and mutated my teeth, along with hitting me constantly in the face as a child, but that wouldn't have mutated the teeth. Although it's an adult tooth, so maybe it did. Jesus. Well, anyway, we can't blame my mother for everything, people of Earth. We can just deal with what is and carry on. Every now and then I just want to scream, fuck! But, you know, that won't change anything either. Teeth could have been mutated by all the tetracyclines I had to have as a child as well. The crap they put in our water, our air. It's amazing we've got teeth in our heads at all. So choose to be happy, people of Earth. Manic denial's a thing in Titania's realm. Happiness dredged up from the bowels of the earth and emanated out into the ether. Sometimes short-lived, sometimes I can hold it firm for a few months or years. I've been getting better at being happy in recent years. ever since I weaned off all those psychotropics that were killing me too. Got my mind back just in the nick of time to be forced to endure more torture and more torture and more torture in various nefarious ways, coming from all angles like a spike on a spike protein. It's completely fucked when you think about it, but we must choose life and be happy. I don't know why my subscribers come to this channel to deal with this level of my moribund darkness, but I guess it just reminds you that if I'm doing it and you're doing it and we're doing this together, that there might be just a better life for all of us on the other side of this hellscape. And if not, it wasn't for lack of trying. I pictured a bullet fired at conception. Deflect that bullet almost at the target and it would miss by only a little, but deflect it early on and it would veer off wide. 4 months. That was less than halfway there. I slid from my chair to my knees and prayed, "Dear God, since I did it without thinking, please don't let it count." Just the kind of prayer God likes to hear. Oh, right. If it be thy will. I listened down into my body to try to discern any damage, any change from yesterday. Nothing. Oh, God. Well, we just wouldn't think about this. But what if Stephen looked at the bottle? I remembered him saying, "I want to make a baby with you. I know you must think I've said everything before to somebody else, but this is a first. He actually said that. The thing to do was to hop in the car and go buy a pint of Remy to get the level back up. Put anything else in there, and Stephen would instantly taste something wrong. Then hide the empty. But it was 20 miles to Oneonta, the nearest liquor store classy enough to stock the stuff. And it was 7:30 in the morning. What I'm hearing is, she's an alcoholic. A pregnant alcoholic. That baby's going to need more than just prayers. Trust me on that one. At 9:30, I started down to make more coffee. Still another thing I wasn't to do, drink more than half a cup a day. But I absolutely had to finish the last 6 pages this afternoon without fail, and I had nodded out staring at the screen. I was looking at this one page, trying to care whether or not the vertical picture should be moved to the right and the pull quote brought down to compensate. And then I seemed to be at a performance of Hamlet, I think it was. And I suppose it's a rule with dreams that if you think it was, it was. And my dress was too tight on me, and I wanted to go to the ladies' room and let out the waist. All pretty obvious. But before going down the stairs, I stopped and eased open my bedroom door with my fingertips. Stephen, in pyjamas, was clutching my pillow, his mouth gaping. Hope we're not going to get showers because I've got all my bedding out. Got it. Seems to happen a lot lately that we're out here and suddenly get showers. His hair looked damp. He must have taken a shower before coming to bed. It made me sad that I'd never known him when his hair was all black. I tried to think what his life must be like. A first, but I really couldn't see that anything was so terrible. I'd never been able to take seriously enough the central tragedy, which was that he'd never become, I don't know, Jackson Pollock or whoever he wanted to be when he was 18. Back in my workroom, I drank the fresh coffee and stared at that page. It was a simple decision, which I still couldn't make. I got up again and went down the hall to Stephen's workroom. So cold when I opened the door, the window wide open. He'd finished another illustration. How could I have thought one of my little moods would slow the march of his work? Last night's production was a peasant family standing by a cottage. The cover from The Forester's Crying was sandwiched on my cookbook stand, and he'd spattered paint on the plexiglass. So that was where he'd gotten the woman peasant's colourful costume, the man peasant, and the little boy he'd put in brown shirts and trousers and compy boots. There was something familiar about the landscape too. Then I spotted the Edward Hopper book on the floor. Aha! The thatched roof cottage was that Mobile station, and the peasant family stood in place of the round-headed gas pumps. He'd done it well. What else was new? I said my piece about this new phase when he showed me the first run, for which he'd used a Currier and Ives print of a man knife fighting a rearing grizzly. Oh, please, he said, this is an homage. Learn a new word, Paula. Then probably, because he realised he was being a pompous ass, he went into one of his pompous ass parodies. Think of this beer, he said, not as a beer, but as an old man depression. The gallant mountain man, yours truly? He inclined his head. And behind the tree here, he pointed to a second man who was aiming a gun at the bear. Dr. Siebert and his magic bullet. He'd only been taking the pills for a couple of days at this point. He gave his snorting laugh, the one that means, I hate myself. Even with this fresh, cold air, I smelled cigarette smoke. In the wastebasket, under a crumpled page of sketch pad, I found butts, ashes, and burned-out matches. I counted the butts. 16. So he was back at it with a vengeance. How had I not picked up the smell of him? Wet hair. Paula Wilson Sturdivant, girl detective. It's one of my amusements up here. The other morning, I was unpacking a box of papers and miss. When I looked out the window and saw him in the backyard by the old oil drum where the people who'd lived here had burned their trash. Stephen, who puts the caps from toothpaste tubes in with the number 2 plastics to be recycled, I swear, was touching a match to a big sheet of paper and thrusting it from him as flames leapt up. Just a particularly lousy piece of work, he said when he came in. I said the obvious. If it had bothered him enough to burn it, it must have had something he could use. He asked if I was reverting to hippiedom, saying it in a way I was supposed to think was only kidding. When he left to go get the mail, I went out to the barrel, but he'd even smashed up the ashes. Around 1 this afternoon, Around 1 this afternoon, I heard Stephen go downstairs. The upstairs bathroom is right over the kitchen, and there's a grate in the floor for heat to come up. I tiptoed into the bathroom and knelt to watch. I could see a corner of the stove and most of the sink where I'd put the filter basket with soil filter and spent coffee grounds still in it. I saw him pick it up. Shoulders rose and fell, a martyr's sighing. Sometimes it's good to feel the wind on your face. They're really much happier, the birdie boys, since I put that rustic swing back outside. Much happy, even little bows chewing it and playing on it and loving it. It's a good decision that I finally gave it back to them. Kearney wanted nothing to do with it when it was in his cage, in the inside cage. Odd, wasn't it? I guess he knew he preferred it out here so he could play with it. You're a very intelligent birdie. Yes, you are. You're my beautiful boy. He says, sometimes you do silly things, Mummy T. You think you're improving on our lives, but we let you know what we want. Yes, I know. Such a good boy. Where did we break off? At the martyr's side. Right. Martyrdom's been a bit of a long trope in my life, and I'm a bit fucking sick of that too. Fuck off. Seriously. What can you do? Most other humans don't understand or resonate with me, nor should they, given their precious privileged lives where they were kept safe in early childhood. I don't think it's fair that I get statistically punished even right up to current time, though. It's evil beyond words. Enough already. Just want my beautiful life to begin. Is it too much to ask? I mean, really? I guess it is. Some things come down to fate. Well, my beautiful life is watching my beautiful birds be happy in their cage and playing and gnawing at their little pieces of wood and playing with their little toys, and the sun shining, the wind in my face. Just one day at a time, babies. I printed out my pages and went downstairs. He was lying on the sofa reading the Pickwick Papers. The last time he went on one of his reading binges, It lasted for over a month. This was back in the city. He got through 7 Dickens novels and blew off an album cover that would have paid him $3,000. He told them he'd been mugged and his arm was in a cast. But what if you run into one of them? I'd said. He'd said, I don't plan to be going out. Good morning, I said. I didn't mean it as a bitchy way of saying it was already afternoon. It just came out. Listen, I have to run over to Oneonta to the stationery store. You need anything from the outside world? Am I not invited? He said. Of course, I said. Sure. You just looked so comfortable. How could I do what I needed to do at the liquor store with him along? The Master of Illusion, he said. How's the book? He shrugged. Reads about the same as last time. No, I mean the wolf book. The children's book he's working on is about a lost wolf cub, which is adopted by a peasant family, but finally returns to the forest to be with its own kind. The crap he's handed is not his fault. Maybe that's what I should do. Return to the forest, be with my own kind. Woman who runs with the wolves. Where is my wolf? My spirit wolf is beside me at a moment, nanosecond if I call upon him. But I mean my wolvish tribe, my people. The ones who love me no matter what, no matter who, regardless of what's going on in the world, even with my poor beleaguered health. Don't abandon me in my old age. It's disgraceful, isn't it? It's fucking awful. Well, what can you do? Humans. Right. Oh, the book, he said. Why didn't you say so? This, I guessed, was meant as a light-hearted peace overture. Good, he said. Reckon right along. I tried to think of a delicate way to find out if he was on the verge of another Dickens thing. Finally, I said, when do they want them by? What's today? Thursday. Thursday, he said. So a week from tomorrow? Not a problem, barring a sudden coffee shortage. What about a cigarette shortage, I thought. He'd gone through nearly a pack last night. How could he be lying there not jumping out of his skin? Why would he want to come with me to Oneonta instead of trying to hustle me out of here so he could smoke? Then I got it. He must have run out, and at some point he would excuse himself to do an errand. With any luck, he'd take long enough for me to get to the liquor store. But wait, if he hustled me out of here, he could just walk down to Webster's. I didn't get it. I was looking through this, he said, to see if there was anything in the Seymour stuff I could use. To see how much longer we've got, people are there. Only a few more pages. Sorry, I'm just floating. I'm floating and flying out of my body. But I'll be back. Ready? Get back down here, psychedelic dreamer. You can do this life. You've been doing it for 961 years. You can take great pride in that too. All the things and people and circumstances and paradigms you've survived. Got to take my hat off to you. Right, here we go, babies. I was looking through this, he said, to see if there was anything in the Seymour stuff I could use. I always thought fizz was way overrated. I sort of wanted to give old Seymour a tip of the Hatlow hat. You know the story, right? What story? I said obediently. Okay. Seymour was the first illustrator on the book. See, Dickens was just this young guy they hired to crank out text. But in the middle of the thing, Seymour kills himself, and they got some bozo to fill in for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then they found Fizz, P-H-I-Z. Look at this. This is the last thing Seymour did. It was an ugly picture of a dying man on a bed. Why did he kill himself? I said. Got me, he said. I know Dickens sort of ran roughshod over him, which I guess didn't help matters, but I think it was just, his life. He got up and located his boots, his checkbook, the car keys, his red plaid hat. Carl plough the driveway, he said, peering out the kitchen window as he zipped up his red plaid jacket over his down vest. Did a great job. As we walked out the door, he handed me the keys. In Oneonta, he came into the stationery store with me, while it could be Oneonta too. I don't know how to pronounce it. Oneonta. I have a feeling we're in Canada, people of Earth, although that wasn't made explicit from the beginning. Could be in some part of America too. Now I want to say Oneonta. It drives me nuts this not being able to pronounce things. At least I can laugh about it. Some of my audience are laughing, going, drives us nuts too, Tanya. I know. Oh, I'm sorry. Something just touched my foot, but I think it was just the leaf. And we'll stick to my original mispronunciation. In Oneonta, he came into the stationery store with me. While I bought a ream of paper I didn't need, he picked out a half-dozen pen tips. Then he wanted to go have rice pudding at the luncheonette. Actually, that would be nice right now. Where he got quarters for the jukebox and played Randy Travis singing the Forever and Ever song. How could he bear the irony? How could he put me through it? I watched his hand, the one with the ring, beat time on the formica. He never announced he had an errand. I tried to think how to manage a run to the liquor store, but it couldn't be done. On the way back out of town, we hit the Grand Union, where I bought stuff for chicken and a bread loaf, and craftily omitted the dried mint. When we got home, he kissed me on the lips, warm, and went up to work. He hadn't had a cigarette, apparently, since some time last night. If he was a man who could pick up a thing and then just drop it, where did that leave me? Thinking about Marilyn, I suppose. He was married to her for 15 years, then dumped her because she got old. He says that's not what happened. She was only 42. I took the pad from next to the phone and figured it out. 42 minus 29. I would be 42 in 13 years. In the same 13 years, he would be 47 plus 13. He would be 60. Past the point where he could get another 29-year-old, unless she was supremely stupid and probably fat as well. Not the kind of security one might desire, but nevertheless. I put the pad back, leaving the sheet with my calculations. On the off chance he might ask what they were. I waited half an hour, did dishes, cleaned the top of the stove, scrubbed the downstairs toilet, put the dishes away, scoured pot marks out of the kitchen sink. Then went up and knocked on his door. Loud saxophone jazz. He called, "Yo." "Sorry to interrupt," I said to his door. "I have to go back to Grand Union. I forgot the stupid mint for the chicken." He opened the door. No smell of smoke. "You forgot what?" "Mint," I said. "They call for mint." "Oh, for Christ's sake, don't they carry mint at Webster's?" "I doubt it," I said. I'd forgotten about goddamn Webster's. Actually, they were pretty well stocked, if you didn't mind paying their prices. "Oh, hell," he said. "Just leave it out. You don't want to go all the way back to Oneonta. How much do they call for?" "Tablespoon," I said. It was a teaspoon. "Bag it," he said. "It'll be fine." "It really won't," I said. "It's going to taste blah." He sighed. Christ. "Well, look, why don't you just fix something else? Roast the chicken like you would anyway, and we'll eat the bread as bread, you know." "But you like the others so much," I said, feeling vile. "Paula," he said, "it's truly decadent to drive 40 miles round trip for a tablespoon of mint, for Christ's sake. You're putting wear and tear on the car. You're burning up fossil fuels." I tried to think. If my motives had been pure, would I be justified in thinking he was being a prick? And would it seem more suspicious to fight him on this or to acquiesce? More suspicious to fight, I decided. "I don't know," I said. "I guess you're right. Look, what I'll do is, I'll run down to Webster's, and if they don't have mint, I'll figure out something else for dinner, okay? You sure you won't be disappointed?" "Au contraire. I will admire your resourcefulness in the face of a domestic crisis." He reached around and patted my ass. I threw my sketchbook in the back seat, that would be my alibi, and drove to Webster's, where I bought a jar of dried mint and a pack of Carefree peppermint gum. I chewed all 5 sticks by the time I got to the liquor store in Oneonta. They didn't have any pints of Remy, so I had to buy the next size up, which I really couldn't afford. Then on the way back I remembered fossil fuels. Stephen wasn't so anal that he'd know the odometer reading, but he might know how much gas there was. I calculated 40 miles at, say, 25 miles per gallon. I stopped at Cumberland Farms and put in $2 worth back at the house, just in case. I pushed the little button on the trip odometer to make all zeros come up. Let him wonder. I was smart to leave the bottle in the car. Stephen stood there in the kitchen, the orange juice carton, no glass, in his hand. "Where the hell have you been?" he said, putting the carton back in the refrigerator. "Alice Porter called and I got stuck on the phone for an hour." An hour meant 5 minutes. "So you shouldn't have picked it up," I said. "Why, the good Lord made answering machines." "I was expecting it to be Martin," he said. "Our auteur has made still more changes in her text, and he had to be sure they didn't affect the pictures. This woman thinks she's Flaubert. I mean, this has been going on and on and on." I told Martin, "This is the end of it. Fini." "Are they going to make you change something? Change anything?" I said. "No, it's just stuff like where she had the wolf with his tail held high. It's now at a jaunty angle." Jaunty, for Christ's sake. I mean, this is what my life has come down to. A jaunty angle. I told him, I said, "Look, the picture's done. He's got his tail in the fucking air, and if the goddamn angle isn't jaunty enough, they can shove it." "Good for you," I said. "So where have you been?" he said. "You didn't go all the way back there, did you?" "No, you were right. They had it at Webster's. I went up to Randolph Pond and tried to do some sketching." I held up my sketch pad as evidence. "Good for you," he said. "You haven't sketched for a long time. Let's see." I shook my head. "They suck," I said. I got a box of matches out of the drawer. "I'm going to use the Stephen Sturtevant method. Burn it before it gets out of hand." "You're kidding, I hope. You know you were absolutely on the money with what you said the other day. How does that thing go? The man of genius makes no errors." "I'm not a man," I said, "and I'm not of genius. Be back in a second." "Come on now," he said, grabbing for the pad. "Let the old doctor have a gander." "No, Stephen." I twisted away. "I'm serious." If he'd gotten the pad away from me, he would have seen that the last sketch in the book was of a little girl at Jones Beach with pail and shovel, but the word "serious" seemed to back him off. I slammed the door behind me to lend myself still more power. Standing over the rusty oil drum. Just one moment. It's endless disturbances in the field. The neighbours have to have their grass mowed. I'm always happy and grateful when my grass is mowed too. thank the goddess that was done the other day. Still looks tidy and nice too. I'm very grateful for the support I'm given. I am. Just wish my tooth didn't hurt. Well, my dry socket didn't hurt so much. And that top tooth. Dear goddess. Let's repeat that line. Standing over the rusty old drum, I ripped out 2 blank pages and set fire to them. Then I ripped out the little girl and burned her up too. Then I came back into the kitchen. When I came back into the kitchen, I heard the toilet flush upstairs. I listened to Stephen's footsteps going back to his workroom. Then went out and brought the new bottle in. I brought the level in the old bottle up to something like what I guessed it had been. Apparently I'd hit it much harder last night than I remembered. Took a slug of what was left for old time's sake and poured the rest into the sink, running hot water to chase it down. Dear goddess. I put the empty bottle back in the paper bag, stuffed it into a milk carton and tucked it away in the bottom of the garbage. Okay, crisis averted. I lit the oven, unwrapped the chicken, sawed the top off the bread loaf with the good knife from Broadway Panhandler and began clawing out the soft inside. Looks like we're going to get showers, boys. Hopefully it just moves along, doesn't rain on our parade with all my pillows outside and my hammock out. Don't think I have the energy to rush it all in if it starts raining. Oh, honestly. Anyway, I hadn't changed my sheets for a while, so they really did need good sunshine and airing, and I really need to buy a new feather doona for my bed as well, actually, because that one's past its best. Bo! Cammy! Little Bo and little Cammy! I have a confession to make, he said, as I lit the candles. I smoked most of a pack of cigarettes last night. Stephen, I said, you didn't. I decided I'm not going to do it anymore, he said. How come you did it at all? Well, we had that, and believe me, I'm not blaming you, but we had that unpleasantness yesterday that never really got resolved. And I felt like I was under the gun with those pictures, which it turns out I'm not. I mean, I'm actually in very good shape with them. I think all it really was, I was just looking for an excuse to do it. So I did it. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry if I contributed. I began cutting the stuffed bread loaf into inch-thick slices. He shook his head. Not your responsibility. It was my choice. And you had them around, I said. Yeah, I had them around. He did a snorting laugh. But I think it has taught me something. I wonder if I should take the opal out and solder the hare and moon underneath the opal so it hangs like that. That'd be kind of cool, but extraneous. Just a thought there. It's already a heavy, chunky piece, but I just thought that might actually look quite nice. Oh, Damamati, thinking about creative outlets while she's reading to you, trying not to die, which I've been doing for a very, very, very long time. Oh, the little lorikeets are back. The lorikeets are back, boys. Only in that tree though, which is odd. Oh well. We haven't seen the king parrot for a while. We might pay a visit too. Yes, my beautiful little bow. And you had them around, I said. Yeah, I had them around. He did a snorting laugh. But I think this has taught me something. I mean, if you weren't reason enough, there's Trigger Jr. to think of. Trigger Jr. was his provisional name for the baby. What about you? I said. Aren't you reason enough? Well, I never have been, he said. Maybe that's changing. Did I tell you? I think these pills might be starting to do something. This morning I woke up and I felt just sort of, I don't know, not heavy of heart for a change. I can't really describe it, but I definitely didn't want a cigarette, despite putting all that nicotine into my system last night, which I find almost scary. But that's wonderful, I said. I laid a slice on his plate and a slice on mine. God, that looks splendid, he said. At any rate, full disclosure, he cut off a corner and spared it with his fork. I'm assuming we still care about that? I think we do. What else was I to say? Good. He put the corner in his mouth. Surpassed yourself. I'm glad you like it, I said, not meaning it to sound that dismal. In the interest of even fuller disclosure, he said, I must further confess to you that I nipped a bit at the cognac while you were out this afternoon. I don't actually know why, except that it was like I really wasn't craving a cigarette, and that freaked me out. It was like nothing was wrong, you know. And that made me suspicious that something was really wrong, that I didn't even dare bring to consciousness. So I thought I'd better drink to sort of preempt it. Does that make sense? Make any sense at all? Absolutely, I said. I wasn't paying attention. How could he not have noticed that so much was gone out of that goddamn bottle? And now what? Try to keep him out of the kitchen and pour out some of what you just poured in? We ate. He took a second slice, half of the third. Now he was talking about names for the baby. Ooh, got big black shower clouds above my head. I've nearly finished the story, so hopefully I can finish this and then move all my stuff back inside before it rains. Now he was talking about names for the baby. Lately he's been liking Margaret. Did I know that was the same as Pearl? The same in what sense? I said, getting up to clear the table. You know, etymologically, he said. He stood up too and reached for the platter with the remains of the stuffed bread loaf. Sit, I said. I'll take care of it. I think you've had a hard day. Only in my head. He carried the platter and the salad bowl out to the kitchen. I set the plates and glasses on the counter next to the sink. Tin foil be the best thing, he said, pulling open the drawer. Why don't you just let me take care of it, I said. I snatched the foil out of his hands. Just go and sit and relax. Actually, you know what would be lovely? If you would put on some music. I'll take care of this stuff and then bring our desserts out to the living room. How would that be? Now you're talking, he said. He took down a brandy snifter. What are you doing? I said. I'll get that for you. Go and sit down. I can get it. He opened the cupboard door and took out the bottle of Remy, looked at it and said, What the hell? He looked at me. Then I saw his eyes go down to my hands and get big. I looked down too. I was sawing the saw thing on the aluminium foil box across the thumbprint part of my thumb. There was blood on the front of me. You've been drinking, he said. Obviously, I said. I couldn't feel the pain yet. I had a picture in my head of a bad person in shame. You're pregnant and you're drunk, he said. Now you know what that can do. Do you care? How could you do it? What the hell is going on in your mind? I'm not drunk, I said. You're a whore, he said. Where did you go this afternoon? I wasn't angry or frightened, really, even though I cringed to appease him. He would never be a hitter. That fist he was raising at me would wham into the cupboard door, hurting only himself. I saw it all happening. Then it really did happen. But I didn't understand the whole thing. Why was he confusing the drinking with the other? Then I got it. Obvious. It was all mixed up for him. All the same thing. The drinking, the other. Anything that could make a woman free. There are other ways of being free, people of Earth, than drinking your baby into fetal alcohol syndrome, but I do understand her desire for freedom. Pregnancy does very strange things to a woman. During my fifth month of pregnancy, I was having the most terrible flashbacks of my childhood abuse. And I wondered actually if I was going mad. It wasn't until I met my former friend who was a forensic psych nurse, she told me that pregnancy often brings out the change in hormones through the body, brings out old memories of childhood and not necessarily the good ones, and triggers women, and it's a common thing for women in their second or third trimester to have flashbacks and nightmares and do strange things like drink themselves half to death. I didn't do that, at least. I really didn't. But I remember being 6 months pregnant and in a state of distress. I think my ex-husband, or then husband, had gone skiing for the weekend and left me alone with, growing our baby. And I remember praying and praying and crying for hours, promising my first yet unborn child that I would keep her safe and protect her. I already knew instinctively that I wasn't in a good marriage, and very likely I wouldn't be able to protect us. So they were heartfelt, genuine promises of a, pregnant mother fearing life itself and the changes happening to my body and the impending labour, and probably knowing deep down that no matter what I did, I would never be a good enough wife or mother or daughter, because ultimately they all hated me anyway. But I won't be bitter. I lived the best life I possibly could given the circumstances, and I tried to be a good enough mother to my children, and more than that you can't really do. Well, could have done a lot more if I hadn't been so bloody almighty traumatised, but if I hadn't been under constant pressure by my former husband and mother and his family and my family, and then when I left him it was just me and my babies and my friend Jared, who was kind and supportive, and my friend Lynn, and they carried that load for a while, a long while actually, 37 and 34 years. And then they drifted off too now. And it is what it is. This is my life now. Sitting in my garden, defiantly and rebelliously and triumphantly with a swollen face. It's got more swollen than it was this morning, so probably reading was a stupid thing to do, but we all choose our acts of defiance, don't we? Some people do it with alcohol and drugs. I do it with breathing life and light in my garden and being a storyteller. So have a beautiful day wherever you are on planet Earth. Remember that there are good things out in the world, and every now and then you find them or stumble across them. Take courage. Everything passes. Everything is temporary. Although my torture, for want of a better word, went on for a very, very long time. And just when I thought I was finally having the best possible life I could ever imagine, with the joy I was experiencing with my musical bands at the Brooklyn Standard and the Koala Tavern at Fitzy's, that too turned rancid. And I really wonder, I really wonder what was the point of any or all of that? And then just when I was recalibrating from walking away from all of that, the last gig I attended was the 4th of December. My teeth went to hell in a handbasket, so now this is just one more thing I've got to fight through alone, courageously. Sometimes throwing tantrums, you understand, but still courageously. And life is still beautiful because I've decided it's beautiful. That's why. And in reality, it's a bit delusional. But anyway, as I said, life is a journey, aspiring Triskel, and if you sit with it long enough, even eventually the ghastly horror must come to an end. So bye for now, people of Earth. Blessed be. Take good care. Be of good cheer. And remember, as always, in spite of the grinding in my jaw and the grinding of the whippersnipper behind me, to never ever let the bastards grind us down. Bye for now.